Hey y'all, happy Friday, happy Friday. Oh, hope you guys are having a good Friday so far. I am. I was met with some setbacks recently, but you know what? God sent me messages through vessels and your girl's good now. Your girl's good. So, one major setback that I'm going to talk about is the window installation at the investment property. So if you've been following me, you know that my deadline to have a tenant in the space listed, have everything operating, was by September. Well, Home Depot is delayed because there is a backlog on the permits, and I guess there are permits needed to install the windows for Fulton County, which made me so upset because I've had windows installed in my home in Cobb County. It didn't take that long. So of course I'm comparing, and I get it. There's different jurisdictions, legislation's different. You have to accept things for what they are. But what that brings me back to is the season that I'm in, and particularly when it comes to this real estate project and just life in general, is I have to relinquish control. Y'all, I am a control freak, okay? Not been diagnosed, but your girl is self-aware. Now, the control freakness in me, it has an origin. I grew up with lack. If you've been following me, I've been open about my story. I grew up without, and, when you grow up in certain conditions, if you're tapped in, you start looking at life a certain way, right? And you start paying attention to specific groups, paying attention to certain people, and you just make decisions within yourself to say, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. If I want to have this quality of life, I have to do this, I got to do this, etc., etc. So you do become a little bit more in control of how you are operating in life. At least that's how it was for me. It wasn't so much for the ego, but it was for the outcome. And I felt like I had to be responsible, responsive, proactive, strategic, as opposed to just letting life happen to me, right? I just could not reason with that. So that's where the whole need to be in control came from. It was just more to be responsible, especially now that I've got people depending on me. I'm now in a situation as a widow where I'm taking on my husband's responsibilities. I'm maintaining the responsibilities I have within our little unit. And then I have additional responsibilities, because the stakes have changed. I'm now in my 40s, established. I have things that I have to maintain. So the stress levels sometimes, imbalance and all of that can be a little bit much. But, I have to learn, and I'm learning that, sometimes I have to relinquish control. It's not in my control for things to be satisfied or certain conditions to be met. Sometimes I just have to let the universe handle things because it happens for a reason. I was talking to a contractor yesterday. In addition to being in control, I also can sometimes be impatient. And I don't trust people. I trust God only. Man is flawed, and it's not that I'm trying to give man a hard time, but just for lack of disappointment in me, I try not to trust people, because every time I've trusted too much, I get let down. I do. So, yeah, I tend to, if I feel like something is not making sense to me, or if I don't trust you, I can become a little bit of a dragon lady and press you. So our first 20 minutes with this contractor yesterday, it was that I was pressing him, but he was so understanding. He even dubbed it because he was intellectual enough emotionally to understand what I was dealing with. And he told me, he said, yeah, those seasons of being tested, and this is how I knew this was godly, because this came out of this man's mouth naturally. He said, yeah, those seasons of being tested, sometimes you just, it's a whirlwind, but you got to rise to the occasion and just do the best that you can. And I was like, yeah, he's right. He's right. And so we were good. Shout out to you, Brett. And then my little sister, she shared a video in our group chat. So there's a group chat between my older sister, my mom, and my little sister and I. And the video was, it was a pastor giving a sermon, and the sermon was called, I Have Control Issues. And yeah, he has some good analogies in there. One of them was a chain. Like, think of you being in control as, you have chains have two sides. You're pulling, but then you're also being pulled. So if you're being pulled, because he shows some videos, if you're being pulled, right, and you're being dragged, and then you start getting damaged, you're scraping yourself, when do you let go? When do you let go? And that's that's what I have to do. It's not that I am, being dragged, because my conditions are still relatively manageable. It's just I had that deadline. I had that deadline in mind. I wanted things to be operating, but it's not going to work out like that. So I have to, instead of being stressed, focused on the stressors, focus on the blessings. Because while this real estate project has been a little much for me, on the other end, I have 2 homes. There are people who are homeless. So I have to focus on the blessings of it all, the silver lining, and not be so consumed by the stressings. A lot easier said than done, y'all, because I go up and down with that. I do. And that's because I'm wrestling with the identity of being a control freak, having impatience, wanting to be responsible. The balance, it's all there. It's all there. So I don't know. What are you guys' season looking like? I'm interested to know, because I love, again, when you share stories, you never know what people are going through. Somebody else could be going through this. So chime in on how you feel on this, or share what your season's looking like. All right. On that note, I'm going to get back to work. Peace and blessings to y'all, and happy Friday again. Bye.